Spa is one of the few classic circuits in F1 24. It's one of the longest tracks and also one of the fastest. Winding through the forests and hills of Belgium, you'll find primarily fast and medium speed corners that test your car's rear stability. In this Belgium track guide for F1 24, I'm going to show you an entire lap around Spa, pointing out the best racing line and optimal braking points, as well as sharing tips on how to master this tricky circuit. Kicking off a lap of the legendary Spa, we have the tricky and incredibly slow turn 1. You'll want to position your car as far left as possible and look out for the 100-meter brake board. This is your braking point where you're going to hit the brakes at full pressure. Just after 50 meters, trail off the brakes and start to turn in. I like to use the yellow part of the left barrier as a guide of when to turn. At the apex, you should be in 3rd gear, and the apex curb is incredibly flat and dipped slightly, which will help rotate your car around the corner. Smoothly apply the throttle as you round the turn, short shifting if needed, and using all of the exit curb. There is a large sausage curb on the corner exit which you should use to define track limits. Then accelerate hard down towards one of the most famous corners in racing, Eau Rouge and Rédillon. There is a fairly long straight ahead of Eau Rouge, but try to avoid going too wide through this corner as things can get a little bit dicey. On the approach, cut the left hand curb as much as possible to straighten your line. Then start to turn right, but don't apply too much steering input. Things can get a bit hairy if you turn too aggressively, so try to remain smooth throughout. Cut the right hand curb just as aggressively as you did on the entry, and keep some right hand steering input applied until you see the crest of the hill. As soon as you see the track start to turn left, apply a small amount of left steering input and follow the turn up and over the hill, once again cutting that inside apex curb. You should remain at full throttle through this corner in all but the most low grip scenarios, such as when it's raining. And if you've perfected your racing line, you shouldn't even need to take too much exit curb, allowing you to keep your car straight for the best run down to turn 5. Now, the straight before turn 5 is a great overtaking opportunity, and it's the longest true straight around the lap of Spa. As you close in on turn 5, move to the far left of the track and use the left hand curb for additional space. The braking point is exactly halfway between the 100 meter and 50 meter braking boards, and when you reach this spot, you should apply full brake pressure. Start to turn in towards the corner right at the 50 meter board, just after shifting down to 5th gear. The curbs at turn 5 are very flat, so you can drive right over them to shorten the corner, even using the green AstroTurf on the inside. Accelerate through and out of turn 5 and quickly to the left, again cutting the inside curb very aggressively. It may not look pretty, but this is the fastest route through the turn. Lift slightly ahead of the apex of turn 6 and then quickly apply the throttle as you position your car to the left of the track ahead of turn 7. You'll need the slightest of lifts on the throttle as you throw your car into the right hander, again using the small inside curb. Accelerate aggressively out of turn 7, trusting that a large exit curb on the left will keep your car out of the gravel. Then keep your car positioned to the left of the track before the downhill turn 8. This corner is very tricky and it's easy to lock your brakes if you brake ever so slightly too late. You can avoid this by braking right at the change in track surface. Apply 100% brake input before trailing off the brake pedal. Quickly shift down to 4th gear to help slow the car and start to turn into the corner. This is a long turn where you should apply around 20% throttle throughout the corner radius. As you start to see the left hand curb come into view, increase your throttle to around 50% and drift out towards the left of the track. If needed, you can use this left hand curb before quickly moving over to the right of the track ahead of turn 9. Now there is no braking required into turn 9, instead turn in just as you reach the right hand curb before the MSC sign and lift to around 50% throttle. As you touch the inside curb, apply more and more throttle and use all of the right hand exit curb. This year in F1 24, this curb is much smaller, so you'll need to be careful to avoid touching the gravel. Turns 10 and 11 make up the incredibly quick Pouon, and it's a corner that can go horribly wrong if you're too aggressive. In a time trial lap, this corner is flat, while in some race scenarios it may require a slight lift, but it will never really require any braking. On the approach, look for the 50 meter board as a reference of when to start turning in. Turn smoothly left, aiming just to touch that inside curb of turn 10. You'll immediately drift out to the right of the track where you shouldn't take too much exit curb, but as soon as you touch the right hand curb, pull your car back to the left of the track for the second apex, this time just missing that inside curb. If done right, turns 10 and 11 should be completed with one smooth rotation of your steering wheel. Then move to the left of the track ahead of my favourite corner sequence, Campus and Stavolo. This corner is similar to turns 5, 6 and 7 and feels incredibly smooth when executed just right. On the approach into turn 12, try to touch the left hand curb and start to brake just before the white painted line. Shift down to 5th for the first part of the corner sequence and get close to the inside right apex curb. But try not to touch this or the apex of turn 13, otherwise your car can start to rotate on you. Accelerate through turn 12 while following the inside of the corner. Then lift slightly as you rotate into turn 13. Again, miss the inside curb, but get as close as you can before applying 100% throttle just after the apex. You can use a lot of exit curb to maximise your acceleration ahead of the next corner. Turns 14 and 15 are incredibly important as they lead onto the long and fast section ahead of the bus stop chicane. Drift over to the left of the track on the approach to turn 14 and look for the start of the curb. This is your braking and turn-in reference point. Apply around 50 to 60% brake input as you start turning towards the apex, shifting down to 4th gear. Then position your car just over the inside curb and be brave and accelerate through the apex and onto the large exit curb. Then keep your throttle pinned all the way through turn 15, ensuring you do not touch that inside curb. Now is your chance to adjust your brake bias or differential, or to line up and overtake into the slow chicane. You should maintain 100% throttle all the way through this sector, following the track's kinks. The final challenge around Spa in F124 is picking a braking spot for the slow chicane. I use the 100 meter board as a reference. Brake hard while your car is pointing to the left of the circuit. Maintain full brake pressure for what seems like an eternity while shifting down to 3rd gear. Turn in slightly after the Aramco signage on the right starts to go off screen, aiming for around 100 km an hour at the apex. This sequence is extremely clunky, but try to minimise your steering input by aggressively driving over the inside curbs but missing those large sausage curbs. Accelerate aggressively out of the first part of the chicane briefly before lifting off the throttle and turning hard to the left. Start to gradually apply your throttle as you straighten your car using some of the exit curb. Short shifting is a great way to get better traction and accelerate hard towards the line. And this rounds out a lap guide of Spa in F124 and is, in my opinion, one of the most enjoyable circuits in the game. You'll be challenged in a variety of ways as you navigate through all 19 corners. However, you can push your car harder at Spa than you can at many tracks to extract the best lap time possible. Just like all of our track guides so far, you'd have seen the live telemetry from the throttle and brake traces throughout the lap. And this is provided by Track Titan, which is a data analysis and telemetry tool for F124 and other sim racing titles. Track Titan lets you compare your lap time to others, including esports professionals, and it's a way of helping you improve your lap time. We have a 50% discount code for Track Titan, which gives you half price plus membership for 3 months, or unlimited lap telemetry for 30 days if you'd rather try it for free. Our discount code is on screen now and it's Sim Racing Setup, and I'll also leave it in the description below along with a link for you to go ahead and have a look at Track Titan. When it comes to recommending a car setup for Spa, you want to go with a very low aerodynamic setup which will help maintain high top speeds through the fast segments of track. You can be aggressive with your transmission and suspension setup to help increase your minimum corner speeds. Being such a fast track, your tyres will be punished, so I'd recommend maximum tyre pressures to help curb this as much as possible, even after the 1.6 patch. And this will round out our Spa F124 track guide video. Let me know in the comments below if you have any tips to help people be fast around Spa and what you think of this track. But for now guys, I will see you all on track.